My mother-in-law accused me of not doing my job as a wife, and I probably don't know what I'm doing when clean, cause I'm used to the filth, so I pinned her down and kicked her out of my house. My husband's mother, let's call her Helen, moved in with him and me in late 2023 in November. My husband, let's call him Gabe, invited her in after his father died in a bad car accident, and at first, I'm very supportive, but that changed 3 months into her living with us. Things to know: Helen always made comments about my upbringing. I'm not from the richest of families. She doesn't like me because of it and always views me as not enough for Gabe. I'm a quiet person until I reach my breaking point. It's not that I won't stand up for myself, but I pick my battles. 3. Helen really believes in a traditional wife lifestyle. She is very extreme about it. I am not a traditional wife/woman. I work with a nonprofit organization, which requires me to work long hours and not make dinner for Gabe and her when I get home. Gabe knows and is fine with that. Gabe travels for his job. Gabe and I are an interracial couple. He is white or Russian, as his mother always reminds me, and I'm a black woman. Anyway, let me tell you what all this means. In February, my mother-in-law, after living with us for 3 months, began making comments about how we put more about how I upkeep our house. Oh whoa, the dishes are not done. Or is it me? Or is it pretty dusty in this room? Do you often dust up? I feel like I don't see you doing that. Are just a couple examples. I'd like to note, she says these things after a 14-hour shift at work, as I sit down. But that's not the worst thing. She comments that I probably don't know what I'm doing when I cook or clean, cause I've used to the filth. Finally, I had enough when Gabe came home after a 2-week business trip, and we had a birthday celebration for him, like a surprise party, which Helen insisted on even though I said he'd probably be tired after flying for hours. But we did it, and it was almost a success until Helen said that the food was okay, but she doesn't blame me. I was pissed. She said it so loud and with a room full of people, friends and family, all look over confused, and I just put the plates and utensils on and walk outside. At this point she'd been picky about a lot that day, saying rude things, and this is my breaking point. Anyway, I walk outside and Gabe follows and we talk, and I tell him what's been going on while he's been away. He gets upset about how Helen's been treating me, and then we talk about why I haven't told him all of this. So we talk and then go back inside cause of the party and then say goodbye to our guests. After everyone has left, Gabe tells Helen we need to talk. Gabe begins to tell his mom that how she's been treating me isn't okay, and she says, and I quote, "On your mother, how could you say that?" At this point I'm just sitting here and letting my man take care of this. But then she says how I'm not doing my job as his wife. I mean, look at her, and now I'm upset and thinking about how going to jail for unalive may not be the worst option. But instead, I blurt out, "You know what? I work hard for where I am today, and I do my best, and it's enough for Gabe. No one asked for your opinion, and I don't know what's happened to you for you to dislike me this much, but your views on me and Gabe's relationship can be kept to yourself, and you can leave my house with them too." I stood up and walked upstairs to my bedroom, away from her mean mugging. But did I take it too far? Am I the a-hole here for kicking my mother-in-law out of the house and her issues? Update: firstly, I know it may sound crazy, but I did put up with her BS for a long time because I was trying to be respectful, and every time I brought it up to my mom, she said she was grieving or whatever, and she would get over herself eventually. Also yes, Gabe and I talked after I went upstairs, and Helen did get her and her things together and left. But that's not even the craziest part. Helen tried to fight me. I kid you not, this grown old woman tried to fight me. I went downstairs to try and make amends, or at least act civil, and she kept rambling on about how I can't believe you treat me like this and I knew you were good for nothing. Then I told her to leave and I called her a Uber and she just pounced. Got all up on me, dragging me to the floor. But I'm a 147 pounds woman who has been going to my uncle's Krav Maga gym since I was a little girl. I pinned that woman down so fast, and then Gabe pulled me off her, and got both of us some ice. I yelled that she needed to leave, and Gabe took her to the dining room and got her some ice. I put on my shoes and left the house. I didn't go home and called Gabe and told him I was staying at my sister's house. Second update: after I got assaulted by my mother-in-law, I drove myself to my sister's house. Anyway, my sister Jamie, for the purpose of this post, took me and cleaned me up and sat me down on her couch. Her husband took her kids out for ice cream so we could talk. So I told her everything. She said we should just do the world a solid and get rid of my mother-in-law altogether. But after I got her off that train, we landed on calling Gabe. So I did. He said he was sorry for how things turned out and that he blamed himself for not noticing sooner. After a lot of back and forth, I told him I wanted Helen out of my house. He said it isn't that simple, and I said I'm not coming home until it gets simpler. I could hear this man sigh, and then I heard him say, "Get out, Mom." And then I could hear her try to argue, but he yelled, "Get out." He got back on the phone with me and said, "I gotta call you back. I love you," and then he hung up. That was about an hour ago. My sister said I should go home and see what the situation is. Instead, I called my landlord, followed some of y'all's suggestions, and found out what would happen if I pulled out of the lease to know my options. Turns out, not great. So now my sister is on the phone with the non-emergency hotline, and I'm telling them everything I know about the situation and getting restraining orders filed. I just hope Gabe isn't mad about that. Third update: I called the non-emergency hotline and they told me I need to file a restraining order in person and that they'd send a patrol car to my address to make sure there is nothing to worry about. So my sister had me sleep over at her house, and this morning Jamie and I went to the police station and filed a restraining order on my mother-in-law. I saw some of the comments and I realized that if I filed assault charges against her it would help my restraining case, but I don't want to ruin my husband's relationship with his mom by doing that. I know that's gracious considering all that's happened, but I think it's the right decision. Also, I found out that a restraining order might take a while, so we'll see how long that takes. Anyway, I left the station and sat in Jamie's car while I called Gabe. Gabe picked up and he asked about the patrol car that stopped by the house. I told what I told y'all and he said that we should talk. I agreed, and we decided to meet at a bakery we used to go to when we first got together. Neutral, happier memories, hopefully good vibes. We met up. He hugged me when he saw me walk up to him and then we sat down. We talked for about an hour and some minutes. He started the conversation by apologizing again and telling me his side of the story. He said he was proud of how I handled the situation and that he was sorry about how he handled it. He said he was surprised by Helen and that he told her that he and I needed space from her and that she wasn't allowed back at our house again. And he apologized for making it seem like we weren't a team. Then he asked about the restraining order and he said he wanted to try and do this without the court first. But I told him that I already got the paperwork started and I'm sticking to it. I told him I don't want him to ever talk to his mom again, but that I wouldn't be. Not until she apologizes and stops treating me the way she does. He agreed after a bit more conversation on what that means for him and our family and his family gatherings. Eventually, we finished the conversation and I asked if Helen was still at our house and Gabe said that she was gone and at his brother's house until she could find someplace else. So we went home and I took a nap after the emotional roller coaster I went on today. But I think this might be the end of the family drama. But I have a few questions. Should I drop the restraining order? Should I talk to Gabe about going forward on the assault charge? And should Gabe and I go to counseling? My sister mentioned it, but I don't know. My mama was always against it. Maybe it was just one of those black people don't do therapy things.